that's the ones that are out here. That already used stuff.
It never works.
Are we live on YouTube?
We're live on YouTube.
Which one is it?
It's the women's room, it's the metal one.
For all those
Plunge
who are
it.
watching.
Plunge it, I know that's what I'm looking right now.
Okay.
This one finally went out, but I think
We
it's
have
like
a lot
over
of
the
them,
back.
like, see-
Yeah, just mop it up and plunge it out.
Okay,
So we
so
do.
The men's, sorry.
Yeah, so we need 6 people.
They are incredible things to learn about as they're going in, and it's kind of fun. And
men's overflow.
Welcome and thank you for choosing Free Conference Call dot.
Come on.
If you are the host, please enter your. Thank you. You are the
Okay,
only
did it flush?
participant
Can it flush now though?
Mood setting.
Try flushing
Oh, we
it.
need to.
Planning commission mood setting.
And ours,
No.
unfortunately, it's, everybody who looked at
You try that.
kitchen's great.
You can't, just let it go down the drain. Call 24/7.
You know, so they put refrigeration.
Bill, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, do you have the number?
Chef,
I'll text it to you.
Thank you.
you know, they're still busier, they're busier than that. It's not big. Like, I don't think the kitchen is too big.
Yeah, that's the next one.
Yeah, it's like a mudroom, it's too big.
Oh, did somebody already call in to?
Yeah, it looks like someone, that was Andy,
Awesome, nice.
because he doesn't want the music.
As fun as the new music is. So Andrew, one of the items on the list is a special land use request.
Yes.
And those do require a 2/3 majority of the full board.
Right.
So in order to take action on that, we would need these 6 people present.
Right. Do we have anybody that's, we know is coming by?
Not sure if Lee has been attending by phone,
Yeah.
so we'll probably see him. But we need 5 for form, but 6 to take action on a special right.
I hear
I hear you.
optimistic stars in the corner. We got 1, 2, we got 2. 2 more.
So there's our 6. Yeah, so there's a copy of this. This is a copy of the rest of the documentation.
Second and Third Street.
Right.
Well, in Harbor Springs, we have an intersection of Second and Third.
This is.
Try describing that to people when the lots are for sale. Well, it's the intersection of Second and Third.
I get on my iPad, should work out. All right.
Yeah, there is a full copy
Or
of.
some streets that the odds are parallel and one's north, south, and one's the other way.
What's up?
Good.
That's okay. Do you need a copy of the minutes or?
Good job for you.
Hi,
what's Bill?
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Everything well?
Yeah.
So you guys all, I don't think you all thought that you guys all.
Well, you should have.
I am, I always felt good.
Just sound water?
Yes, I have been out
No.
every night.
Cause what?
They're just heading out right now.
I know.
Fishing every night.
Is that for real?
Yes.
There's no polite way to say it.
We have.
Hear about that.
I think Alice.
Usually.
How are you?
Good. Thank
Look at me. I got special treatment.
Have you been much?
Yeah. Yeah. Gotta go paddling.
Yeah.
For the water.
Who else do we got?
We swam this morning. Ella, do you want to do roll call or do you want me to have something?
Yeah, you can do it, that's, yeah.
Let me go grab my cheat sheet.
All right, thanks.
It's a wonderful thing.
So really.
I'm just thinking in my head who the other 3 members are, and Lee, George P. Lee's right there. One more, who's the 9th person?
Kramer.
Well, Yeah.
Aldica, there we go.
Oh, thanks for that.
Great, ready to go. Old habits die hard.
Yeah, he's just gonna do roll. He's just getting this.
Okay. He's gonna do it next time.
We didn't want,
Right, Teddy needs to eat.
You wanna call the roll?
We can do that.
Okay.
Mary Catherine Hanna.
Here.
Andrew Bowman.
Here.
Jack Deacon.
Here.
George Pete.
Hello.
hereby Barry, Catherine.
Mark Day.
Here.
Beth Verhellen.
Here.
Mike Turkis.
Here.
We have 7, we have,
Lee Kramer, you got him?
oh, is Lee on?
He's on the phone, yeah.
Okay. Lee, are you here?
Yes, I am.
All right. Do we have any council members attending or planning commission members attending via the YouTube?
Not that I see, just a public individual.
We have a quorum.
Second item, approval of the minutes from the July 20th regular meeting. Does anybody have any comments or corrections on the minutes?
You said July 20th regular meeting?
July 9th.
July 9th.
I only had one, and it was under approval of the minutes from that meeting. I was late calling in on the phone, and it says I voted yes on approval of the minutes from June 18th, and I actually wasn't there for that vote. Lee, any comments or corrections on the minutes? Lee, are you still there?
I am.
Oh, any comments on the minutes, Lee?
No, I don't.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve as amended.
Support?
Second.
We need to call the roll, or just all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Public comment and correspondence for anything that's not on tonight's agenda. Anyone here for anything that's not on the agenda?
Yes, I am.
Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Bill Mulder, and I live on Summit Street, and I'm going to try to do this with a mask. And I'm here to ask for your advice tonight on a situation I've got with the zoning code that's thrown me into kind of a crazy loop, crazy bureaucratic loop. Want to hear my story? Thank you, that's great. I'll tell you, could you pass those around? Everybody just take, I've got a diagram that simplifies it. Trying to do a pretty simple thing, and there's a quirk in the zoning code for R1 and R2 that has thrown me into this kind of morass that I'm in. So I'm just here to get your advice about maybe the best way to proceed with that.
And sometimes in the past, if something seems like it's going to be a little bit longer than just a comment, we have moved it to the bottom of the agenda, so the people who were on the agenda and moved into, we would hear that first, and then I don't know how long we anticipate this conversation taking, but
We could certainly do that.
I don't want to put you off. We do have people who've been on the agenda from the beginning.
Sure, we can do anything.
Does anyone here have a preference whether we hear this now or deal
I
with?
think we could do it in 5 minutes and just get your
Let's do it
direction
then. Yep,
if you're interested.
sure.
I can provide you with a little bit of background here. So Bill has been in a couple of times to see me. He has a lot with a house on it, on Summit Street. He's also purchased the adjacent lot to him. And he has a goal where he would like to modify the property lines between these two to acquire some of the adjacent land and join that to the lot that he has.
Yep.
And the issue that he's running into is the placement of his current house is very close to the west property line. And the situation that he's running into is with our side yard setback requirements. In the R1C district that he's in, the requirement is 8 feet side yard setback or 12% of the width of the lot. And his lot is normal than, the minimum lot size. So what happens is his current side yard setback is closer to, I think 11 to 12 feet, which creates a situation where he has a small existing nonconformity with the west side of his home. And what he would like to do is take a small portion of the lot next to him and join that to his existing lot. Everything with zoning seems to be okay with this lot resplit organization here. The other piece of property would meet all of the zoning requirements. The issue that he's running into is because he's further widening his existing lot, that 12% rule then bumps his side yard setback from 11 or 12 feet up to about 15 or 16 feet of a side yard setback, which would prevent me from approving that lot split. So he's, not to speak for you, but he basically is coming in to talk about some type of ability to modify or remove that requirement of that 8 feet or 12%, because it's that 12% that's causing the issue here. And he submitted a letter that was part of the correspondence included in the packet that was sent to you. Bill, if you have any other thoughts you want to add into that, or?
No, really, so that it comes down to, it's the side yard setback, the floating aspect of it is the only one that we have in our zoning code. It's only for side yard, and it's only in the R1 and R2 districts. So what the purpose of it was initially is unknown to me, and it just seems like an outlier and a one-off, and it's a quirk that is going to cause problems for other people too, especially in a, after the fact lot split. So what I'm asking for tonight is your direction on what do you think the best way to attack this would be? Is this a zoning code change that you'd be willing to consider? Or, should I take it to the council, prove a hardship, meet the 4 tests, take their time and their agenda? So, it seems like an outlier, it seems like a quirk. And I need to know best how to.
Survey done?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be helpful to see that. That'd be part of any argument that you would make.
Yeah.
Either to us
Well, I thought
or
I'd
to
simplify and
ZBA.
just give you the concept, so, it's not about my property necessarily, it's about, is this something that we want in the zoning code, this floating side yard setback, only in the R1 and R2? If it's so valuable and so desirable, why doesn't it apply to rear yards and front yards and other zoning districts? So, my intent was to gauge, whether you have an appetite to potentially look at eliminating the 12% rule, or, should I go ahead and just, try to take it to the council and prove a hardship and all that?
I think, tonight maybe what we can do is, Larry, the reason that is in there is that we did, is it to minimize the potential for sort of big footing in an above average lot? Is there a reason in your experience why that percentage is included as opposed to just a dimension?
Well, the R districts in the city constitute probably 95% of all the residential zoning in the city. So this provision applies to all residential zoning districts, virtually. The provision has been there since to my knowledge, since the ordinance was originally drafted back in the 70s. So this, and I've been here for several years, and this is the first time this issue has ever come forward. So it hasn't been really a detriment to the city for having this provision, and it allows for the increased distances between lots, between structures on lots, as lots get bigger, which provides more spaciousness and minimizes the footprint of the house going on a piece of property. The thing that comes to my mind is we have a provision in the zoning code or in the city code that doesn't allow for an existing nonconformity with a lot split to be created. Is that what the hang-up is?
Well, the issue is that if if I think it's 20 or 30 feet from the one lot were to be added to the existing lot that has his house on it, it would be widening the lot, which then would cause that 12% to increase, which would increase the size of the nonconformity or create a violation. And we have language in our lot split ordinance that says that in doing a lot split, we cannot create any new violations.
Okay.
And what he's referring to in going to city council would be the appropriate way to appeal the denial of a lot split would be to prove a hardship to city council.
Okay, okay.
It's a bummer, because Jeff could normally just approve this administratively and wouldn't be standing here, wouldn't have to go to council. But it's only because of this, 12% rule, which,
I guess the 12% rule has made sense to me in the past from the standpoint as the lots get bigger, the house is typically bigger, and to maintain scale, you typically want more than, 8-foot side yard setbacks or whatever it calls for. The only time I remember we've done anything even remotely close to that was the plat down on 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Street.
Right.
There was some, those lots were all platted at 50 or 50 feet wide, I think, and you applied the 8 feet, and we kind of did the reverse there. We gave some leniency because it was very hard to build a house, if you had just one of those lots as opposed to two. So I guess for what we could do for you tonight, I don't think we could go down the table and see how it strikes them off the top of their head, but I think, the other alternative is to get a memo from Larry at the next meeting. But I personally don't, it does apply to, like Larry said, a majority of the properties in the city, so it isn't just the R1. When you say just the R1 and R2 district, that's everything but CBD, B1, B2, and waterfront and TR. So I mean, it's on an area basis, that's almost everything. So,
okay, yeah.
I personally am not necessarily inclined to change it.
Well, and since we're about to dive into a master plan review, I'm a little hesitant to take on one-off modifications of the code. So I think expeditious, if you were after a faster resolution to your particular issue, probably the city council, the hardship route.
Because
Believe
even
it or not,
if
it's
we
the
did
faster
take it
route.
up, it would be a 90 to 120 day process through this
Okay.
body, and it would still have to go to city council for final approval, so that might be I understand the logic in this particular case, but it is, as Larry said, I don't remember it ever coming up in the past, so it isn't a common hardship, or a common difficulty.
Yeah, we don't have any power to do anything tonight, so if you want to go.
Yeah, I really just wanted to gauge your, intent and your willingness to take a look at this and do it on a, pretty expedited basis. And if it's not there, then I'll have to go another route.
And I think even an expedited basis is 90 to 120 days, because it would take a public hearing, it would take, a lot of, and I personally don't have, unless there's something that we're missing, I don't personally feel a lot of need to change that rule based on one incident in 15, 16 years that I know of.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring it to you just on my case. I figured it would affect other people, and
I don't
apparently it
really
has.
I've never seen the issue
Yeah, that's
before.
interesting. Okay.
Have you? Anybody?
Is that helpful at least?
Yep, that's helpful. It gives you direction, and I will go and pursue that. But you can consider this when your master plan discussions, as we try to get to more density and more flexibility. It could be something to take a look at. So, all right, thanks for your thoughts. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Any other public correspondence or any other members of the audience here for something that's not on the agenda? Nope. We'll move on to new business. And we have a special land use at 600 West 2nd Street for Mr. Thornton. Is here a representative here?
Oh, Michael.
You want to run through a quick explanation, or we've had a very thorough application, so that's very helpful.
We should do a motion to open the public hearing.
Do you want to have the applicant say anything first, or do you just want to go right to the public hearing?
You would have to make a brief presentation.
I just thought maybe if people are going to comment from the public, they might want to know what it is. But,
Right.
Okay, you want me to give a
sure,
quick
just
overview?
and then we can do the public hearing.
Okay, well, thank you. Michael Thorson, my wife and I, Kimberly, are planning, we bought the lot from Ken Sevens. I think it was lot number 3. This is the one right on the corner of Ann Street and Second Street, or Third Street and Second Street, depending on what map you're looking at. The lot is about 170 by 106. It's a good sized lot. We're planning on putting up, it's not a monster house. It's by no means a Bigfoot. There's quite a bit of green space there, but it's definitely, it'll be a very nice house for us when we're done. We're planning on a detached 2-car garage. It's going to be a long 2-car garage, so it's probably closer to 4, assuming it's not a 1970 Cadillac DeVille. But it's a detached structure, and that's the auxiliary structure that's in question for today. I've been in conversation with Jeff really since day one to try and understand all the codes, all the setbacks, all the specific nuances. So I kind of did it for 2 reasons. Number 1, so I wouldn't have problems later, which is kind of number 2. Selfishly, I didn't want to have to go through the architectural process more than once. I wanted to get all my prints designed, get all the plat maps designed, and so I wouldn't have problems that anything that was identified early could be rectified on paper, so I wouldn't have issues when we start digging and doing things like that. Part of this is part of my submission is I have a plat map in there that shows where all my setbacks are, and I believe I'm in 100% compliance to the zoning area. There's a couple of corrections that are going to be made to the actual structure itself. This is basically the house that we're planning on building. There's little things here and there that we're planning on doing, but like some of the corrections to the house, I believe in the set of drawings that you have, it has a poured basement. It's actually going to be a 6-block basement or crawl space. So even though I did a perk test in the area and it's been dry since from day 1, it's Harbor Springs. So I just didn't know I was going to run into problems, which I probably would have. So we just decided to do a crawl space, and instead of poured cement footings, we decided to do a block footing. The other issue is the height of the garage. And right now, I believe the height of the garage is about 3.5 feet, give or take. It's a little too tall. That will be adjusted. I didn't have a chance. This was just brought to my attention late last week or early this week. And it will be rectified through 3 different approaches. We're going to shorten ceilings on the 1st and 2nd level. We're going to probably change the pitch of the roof a little bit. And then also the floor trussing will probably thin down a little bit. I'm not quite sure if I need 18-inch trussing throughout that whole structure. Seems like a little bit of overkill. So between those 3 things, I am 100% confident that the height of the garage structure will be within code of 25 feet. There's other little things on there. It says I've got hardy board siding. It's not going to be that. Probably don't really care about little things like that, but I'm trying to get I'm a little anal retentive. I'm trying to get my prints to be 100% accurate, just so we don't have problems later on. So the land right now it's a beautiful lot. It's a little overgrown. There's actually an old house foundation on it right now. There's an old an old basement on there that's pretty much filled with garbage. That's all going to get cleaned up. And so I think it'll help, that'll help kind of the general look and feel of the entire area. So it's kind of a quick snapshot.
A motion to open the public hearing on the special land use. The reason it's a special land use again is because it is a accessory living quarters, and that requires us to have a public hearing to meet the 7 standards of special land use. So
I move to open the public hearing.
we have support from Lee. So the public hearing is open. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to comment on the application? Anyone online? Anyone on the phone? Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
please support it, so we vote on the closing of the public
Can't
hearing.
really touch my maps.
Sure. Mike Matarkas.
Aye. Yes.
Dr. Holland.
Oh, yes.
Lee Kramer. Mark Boudet.
Yes.
Jack Deacon.
Yes.
Andrew Bowman.
Yes.
George Pete.
Yes.
Mary Catherine Hannah.
Yes.
Has everyone here had the chance to read Larry's memo that runs through the 7 standards of a special land use, related to the guest quarters?
I did.
Does anyone have any questions for Larry after reading through that?
I do.
Okay.
No, I like design your house and all that stuff. You've done a very good job. Well done. But I did catch on the elevations that not only did the guest house exceed the height, but so apparently does the original house. Neighborhood, what's the height limit for some districts?
35.
35 feet is the height in the zoning district. And there are 32 feet, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. No, it's actually, the sort of thing, because it's really close. I actually thought it was 32 feet, so my apologies for that. That's why I was going to bring it up. But I guess in order to know how high it really is, we need 2 pieces of information. One is, what is the original elevation of the site at the front of the house? And what is the highest point? And I couldn't see that on the plans on either one of them, so I did the, see, this is the grade down here. These elevation points are from building. So I scaled it up. I scanned and scaled it correctly. And so from the grade line that's shown on the drawing of the original house to the highest point is 34.6. It really depends, so you're very close. But I just want to point out that we don't have that information, at least that I can see, that would tell us. We don't have the top of the roof relative to the elevation of the site on the front building line.
And Mark, your point is on this, looking at the front elevation on the first page where the takeoff for the 32.6 is
Yeah.
basically from the top of the foundation.
I don't know.
Right, you don't have the grade.
Well, but I'm showing,
From the subfloor.
Right,
yeah, I'm just showing the height definition is from the original grade to the highest point.
Yep.
And we don't have the information on here, so I was able to scan it in and bring in CAD software, besides the dimensions that were given to make sure I was close. So my point is it's very, without the information on the drawing, it's very close to exceeding the 35 feet, depending on what you do with the existing grade, whether you bring it up some so you can pitch away from the house.
Yeah.
But it's tied to the original grade, we don't have that information.
Yeah.
And thank you for pointing out that, the change on the guest house, because that, I've got it like 28 feet, 8 inches right now.
Yeah.
From supposed grade.
Yeah.
And so,
And I thought, I just missed the 25-foot max, so.
and so Larry, that's my only point is, my only question is that, however that's handled, it's very close, and it's not, nothing is documented to tell us what that maximum height of that building's going to be per the definition.
The main house or the,
The main house, sounds like you took care of the guest house already,
right.
and the
And
main
that
house
was the
is very
focus of
close.
our review for this. We didn't really review the main house at all. That will be for Jeff to do once the final construction or final drawings are permitted when he issues a zoning permit.
Right, but since it's all included in our package,
Yes.
I wanted to point that out because it's something that's very close and the information isn't on the drawings. Nor can I see where it's provided anywhere. And that's pretty critical information.
Can we not indicate that it has to be within the 35 feet?
Well, it
And
it has to be done. But to your point earlier, that you want to have all your ducks in a row before you break ground, this would be one of those ducks you'd want lined up, because if for some reason these dimensions get off and they were to check or something, you could be off, and you don't want that. That's something that your contractor should be aware of, because it's very close. And there's just nothing on the drawing to tell us, but it does go back to this point, even on the guest house, there's no information on the drawing that would tell us without us digging into it in the ways, which I did do.
Yeah.
But you guys caught it, so I don't know what the process is to,
I think that one will be a little easier because it's just sitting on a slab.
Yeah.
And I'm not planning on adding dirt to the lot to elevate the lot at all. And that one will be just on a slab, so,
Sure.
you know,
Well,
from
there are building code, not zoning code, but building code rules that require a certain gradient away.
yeah,
So you may not have a choice.
Yeah.
You may find that all of a sudden your building's grown 8 inches in height.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's too late.
I don't have my drainage plan yet. Steve from Northern is gonna be doing all the excavating and block work for me. Hired him to do both, and he's got a partner to do all the masonry for me. But because there's gonna be some other things, I know there's already utilities on there, and there's gotta be some fancy drain system in there as well, since it does all pitch down a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I understand your point. I could probably shorten the house. Now, keep in mind, I wanted to keep the house relatively low to the earth because I'm not looking to put railings on the front stairs.
Yeah, you can't do a certain height and all that
Yeah.
stuff. No, it's a very nice house, and
Thank you.
it's presented very well. But it's right on the limit, and we have a rather specific definition of building height.
Mhm.
And my only point is that I'm not seeing that information on the drawing.
Well, you mentioned that you have a drainage plan that's in the works.
It's in the works.
So what we could do is, if the planning commission is open to this, I think we've already had some discussion. I think, did you already submit your zoning application for the home? Did you do that?
Mhm.
So what we could do is we could add that drainage plan to the existing zoning application. And we can make sure that that has the proper grade information on it that we need.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
key, just to know what the existing is.
Right.
Just because he's very close, usually it's not that big a deal, but he's very close, and
Right.
what he's showing is actually over. So that's puts up a bit of a red flag for me. So with this drainage plan that's being done by the excavator and not by a professional engineer,
Right now, it's Steve at Northern
yeah,
Excavating.
that's something that, to have a locked-in grade, to get that elevation, I don't know if that's,
I'm also working with Benchmark,
there you go.
and
That'll solve the problem right there.
Yeah.
You get, take out there, whoever you're working with, to give us that point elevation.
Yeah.
The average along that line, or however.
and he's doing the
Wants to look
staking
at.
for me, and I was actually up there about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, well, then you're in good hands.
Okay, thank you.
And Jeff, relative to that's a good point about the house itself and the garage, I mean, as shown, it is too high. Is it acceptable if the planning commission were to make a motion to approve it, that they include in that, during the zoning review, for the house itself, you would verify the existing grade and ensure that the guest house does not exceed the 25-foot limit, and would you need to amend the site plan, because what we have right now shows it being higher than that. He's very clear he's gonna fix that, but what we have doesn't show that, so.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Larry, but what they're approving tonight
Just the guest
is
house.
the special land use request, not necessarily exactly the site plan.
Okay.
He will have to submit a site plan to me after this for zoning approval for the guest house.
Okay.
And what we can do is we can require that that be amended and modified, showing the proper height, and that is what will get approved.
And that's what goes on the record. So
Right.
okay, so
As long
it's not
as-
as though it's with a CBD building, what we approve at that meeting is the record.
And the difference there is, for residential properties, I administratively
Okay.
approve the site
Is that-
plan.
Yeah, that's fine, just as long as it's documented so that we know what the elevation is on the front elevation, and we know what it should be tied to a drawing. I don't know if these are going to be revised drawings or not. You mentioned that you want things to be cleaned up a little bit, because I think you're going to find, you take 3 feet out of this carriage house, there's going to be some pretty significant changes to it. So I would tie it, because we have words referencing that it has to be architecturally similar. And it is now, but maybe, and actually by lowering the roof and by lowering the plate height, it would be even more architecturally in line with what you already have for the main house. But as long as we have those 2 points tied in, elevation along the front. The elevation, grade elevation at the front of the building and the height of the building, maximum height relative to that grade elevation. And that's all, so it gives us all the information we need.
Yeah, it's not a perfectly flat lot. It does pitch down a little bit. And so,
That's why, Larry has the definition is as a building line. So it's very specific where you measure that from.
okay. Where do you measure that from?
The front elevation, which I guess is towards,
The face of the building, so.
And then the
Mr.
other
Joe will measure it.
On Third or
Yeah,
Main
yeah,
Street
yeah.
on-
Your guy will measure it correctly.
Third Street knows how to do it.
Okay.
Your front yard is a Third Street, so. Any other comments or questions on the memorandum from Larry on the 7 standards of special land use? Larry, did you want to run through those real quickly?
I really don't need to. They're there, the applicant addressed them all. I thought he did a fabulous job in that address. If you concur with that, then I have provided you with a motion, and you may want to add a couple of conditions, as Mark has been discussing, to make sure that everything gets knitted together.
On the last page of Larry's memorandum, we have the recommendation, and I think if anybody was in support of making a motion to approve, they would want to include the reference to verifying the existing grade and the relative height of the structure from the existing grade, and that'll be done during the administrative approval of the actual zoning permit.
Sounds like having a motion. Yeah, why don't you just call that a motion?
I will make that motion.
I second it.
So my motion, just to be clear, is that we've reviewed the 7 standards for guest quarters found in section 50.302. We feel they've been met. The site plan review standards found in section 50.2 has been met by the applicant, stated in the memo discussed by the planning commission. And we also believe that they're set apart about the highlights within there. We have support?
Second.
Let's do a roll call. Mayor Catherine Ham,
Aye.
George Peak,
Yes.
Andrew Bowman,
Yes.
Jack Deegan,
Yes.
Mark Burdetti,
Yes.
Lee Kramer, Beth Verhal,
Yes.
Mike Majurgis.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pretty house.
Okay. Moving on to new business, D, master plan, work plan, outline update. Anybody have a copy of that?
Everyone should have a copy of that as part of your package. At the last master plan meeting last week, it was suggested that I provide a work plan outline of all the major steps of the master plan. I have done that. And in fact, just this afternoon, I met with staff and we went through the comments that we had generated, thank you, from the discussion of the first 43 pages of background analysis. And we are in the process of collecting the information, contacting people, and trying to pull all that together. So where we are right now is that meeting 1, we've completed that review of the initial analysis of what's in our current master plan. We got to amend that and bring it back to you for your review and comments. The next step is goals and objectives. I think it would be appropriate for our next meeting if we did that on that first meeting in April, which is August the, we'll start with A. 6th or
Yep.
9th or something, anyway.
It's the 6th.
That's Thursday, first Thursday in the month. And we could start with reviewing the major categories of goals, not the objectives of how we get there. But if we can get consensus from the planning commission of what the goal statements need to be and the kind of elements you want to see in that goal, then we can craft those, or we can sit here for an extended period of time, I guess, and wordsmith goals if we wanted. But I'd really like to get ideas, and so then we can go back and present and craft them for you, and then present them to you the next time we meet. Once we get those kind of solidified, that then provides us with a foundation to solicit public input. Work with staff, work with Victor in trying to figure out the best way to do that using SurveyMonkey as he has in the past with a lot of other information that he's gotten public input on. And then use those goal statements and those categories to ask questions of the public. That may take a bit of time because I think there's going to be several of those goal statements, a lot of different categories. And so that's not just going to be one 15-page questionnaire, because most people won't sit down and do that. They'll get tired of that. And we're going to ask, I think, a fair amount of questions because we need that public input to prioritize, to find direction in those objectives to those goals. Because we need to know, other than the base we have here of 9 planning commission members, the support of the community for certain elements. And I think that will tell us, the public input will be very telling as to how much emphasis we put in each of those categories. Because just based on experience, some rate very high and some of them barely make it. Okay, but they're all laudable goals, but it's just that some are more important to people in the community than others. So, and that's what we need to sort out. That will take several months for us to accomplish, getting to that and then developing then the objectives under the goals with that public input. And then from there, we can then start working on future land use. We'll decide there if we want to solicit additional public input or not.
Larry, I have a quick question, not to
Yes,
interrupt you.
sure.
After the public inputs section, you go meeting 4 through 7 is a discussion on future land use. Are we gonna have a meeting after public input to maybe, I guess, before we go to future land use to digest, the planning commission digest all that public information? Or you imagine each will have a planning commission, a meeting to discuss that survey that we decided?
Yes, there's not a lot of step-by-step in what I
Okay.
provided, but they were just the major steps. But yes, I plan on, there will be a lot of planning commission meetings that will be open to the public every time.
Okay.
And we may even want I think somebody mentioned last time, maybe even a workshop or a open house, I guess was the term we used.
Mhm.
I know I've done that before and it works very well. And with the COVID-19 situation, social distancing, we couldn't have in this room a large crowd at all as a group, but to have the information up and for people to walk in, talk with us and leave and just kind of, maybe it's a 2 or 3 hour session of people coming and going in the open house. That might be an appropriate way to do that.
Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to clarify that we weren't gonna go to meeting 1 through 3, public input, and then not have any meetings
Right.
to discuss the master plan at all. It's
Well,
just,
I think
yeah.
Larry's right,
Yeah.
I think trying to do one survey, to try to get all, I think we're gonna need to
Yeah.
break it down, at which point we'll be intermixing the public input with the meetings,
Mhm.
with maybe a couple of open houses.
Yeah.
forward.
that's good for me.
Okay.
Makes my job
So
easier.
that's kind of, and I told you last time we met that wasn't going to spend a lot of time on this other than just to introduce it and share it with you, just so you had a better idea of where this bus is going in this master plan goal here.
Anybody have any questions specifically on the outline that Larry provided, the explanation? Does everybody feel comfortable kind of adopting that as our way forward?
Thank you, it's very helpful.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Moving on to member comments. Any member comments? Anyone like to be adjourned?
You know, one thing, when are the, Victor, Beth and I were saying, yeah, the sales and stuff going up, just we're near the end of, well, not near the end of July, but we will be.
Well, hopefully they're in either by end of next week or early the week after. It's even the sales that we ordered, they had to make. So it took about 3 weeks. So
We're on track, that's still.
we're on track. This will be up this summer, yep.
That's
The
not-
tables are all there and put together now. So the 12 tables that we have donated and ordered, all those tables are down there. So
Yep, they are all
Yeah,
come together,
yeah,
just so
so-
you know.
we just got to get the shake sales.
People tend to
You're
drag
all
together, don't they?
Yeah, they're all
Someone-
right next to each
Not
other.
at all.
Someone
They
did that.
really space them out, stake them down, people just, they keep dragging them back together.
Oh, people do that.
People, yeah.
They just want to be close.
All right, way to go, Victor.
Yeah, thanks.
We are adjourned. Perfect, guys.
There you go. All right. Good job.
Thank you.
Keep all this stuff.
Good question, man.
You can recycle.